about that. Folks over here, did you get hit by anything?
Probably.
Yeah, probably. Your left arm's gonna fly off and hit you in the face. Now, are you alive?
Yes, but
you
it's gonna be in agony.
Yeah, you might be in agony depending on how hard that limb hits it. Are you scared though?
Yes.
Very good. Folks, I'm taking out roughly 3 of you with each shot, but I'm likely scaring the rest of you. When you're scared, folks, what's your first reaction?
Run.
Run. If you're running, what are you no longer doing?
Fighting.
Yeah, you're no longer shooting in our direction or trying to shoot in our direction, right? That is my goal here. I'm trying to take out enough of you that those who are still remaining go running off the field instead. Now, folks, that's going to happen if I'm facing poorly trained troops. Are you folks well trained?
No.
Now, to continue this conversation, you folks all just said yes in a loud, booming voice. So, folks, you're good troops, you're well trained. I blasted a couple holes in your ranks. What are you going to do about that?
Laugh.
Close rank.
Yeah, you're going to close ranks, and what are you going to do?
Get hit again.
Fire back at you.
I heard two different things here. Let's talk about both. Fire back at us. Now, as infantry, what type of weapon do you have?
Muskets.
Musket. Do you folks know the effective range of a musket?
100.
It's about 80 to 100 yards. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if I want to lowball this cannon has an effective range of around 1,100 yards, an extreme range of a mile. So if I'm shooting this cannon at you before you can start shooting, you have to... Yeah, keep moving. You got to move closer to our position. Now, folks, if I'm feeling stubborn, which 9 times out of 10 that is true, instead of having this gun move to a safer location that I see that you're approaching on us, I'm simply going to keep loading this thing and firing. But those 10 guys I mentioned prior, they can move this gun to a safer location if necessary. But no, I'm just going to keep firing this thing in the hopes that you go running off the field. But you're quote-unquote well-trained troops, so you're simply going to keep pushing forward no matter how many times I send that cannonball into your ranks. Folks, you keep pushing forward, scaring you is no longer working. You get within 300 yards of our position, I start to sweat a little bit. I'm going to change up my tactics. Instead of trying to scare you, I'm going to try to kill you now. Any complaints, any concerns? No, very good.
Horseshoe nails.
Folks, this piece right here, anyone know the name for it?
Shrapnel.
Grape shot or shrapnel?
Canister, I like that one too. Case shot works. Grape shot, you folks might have seen an example in the encampment in that middle little table talking about naval shot, right? Because there it looks like a bag of grapes. Here it's going to be a case or can. In this container will be 40 to the smallest shot that we load up into this piece right here, fired out of that cannon. Instead of just one shot going forward, now you have roughly 40 that are spreading across the field, turning our gun into a great big what? Shotgun. Yeah, before I was taking out 3 of you. Now I'm taking out 20 of you. Is that better, yes or no? Yeah, I think it's pretty good. For me, yeah, exactly. Folks, why did I not start off with this piece then?
Distance.
Range, distance, right? This thing has an effective range of somewhere between 300 to 400 yards. So if I'm using that, how's my day going?
Not great.
Poorly, because I haven't scared you off just yet. You're close enough that I feel compelled to use something like that. As we determined earlier, you folks might be good troops. So I blast a few more holes in your ranks. You simply close up, keep pushing forward. You get within 150 yards of our position. What are some of y'all going to start doing?
Firing.
Shooting, right? You're still outside of your effective range of 100 yards. There's enough of you, though, that one of you is bound to get lucky. Folks, you're knocking on our doorstep. We haven't scared you off just yet. Myself, my crew, what are we going to do?
We're either going to fight or run.
Oh, we're going to run. No doubt about that. Folks, there's 4 of us and, I don't know, about 150 of you, something like that. Yeah, we're a little outnumbered at this point. Now, folks, when we run, are we going to leave that cannon behind?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
We got a big problem with that cannon. That thing weighs 1,400 pounds, and we're 4 people. Maybe 15 people, if you want to actually talk about the time period. But still, we're not moving that thing fast enough to outrun your muskets.
Blow it up.
What? Hold on to that answer. I like that. Folks, what's the problem with leaving the gun behind?
They'll get it.
Yeah, you're going to very slowly turn it around. If you don't know already, you're going to figure out how to use the cannon, and then you're going to aim for right here. So before we leave this cannon, there's a few different things we can do. Sir, you said
Blow it up.
we can blow up the cannon. Any other ideas? We're going to spike it, right? So there's a few different things we can do. If necessary, we can blow up that cannon. I think that'd be pretty cool. Now, unfortunately, we have infantry of our own. Sure, we're getting pushed off this position right now, but there's, possibility that our infantry retakes this position. And if we blew up the gun before, now we're just coming back to scraps of thing. Now, sure, if we had enough time, we could knock off a wheel, dump that thing into a river, make it so it's very difficult for you to actually use that. Or, as you folks so pointed out, we can spike the weapon. Folks, spiking the gun is fancy wording for disabling the gun.
Disabling
We're going to take a long iron nail, we're going to drive it into the vent hole of the weapon. We're going to have this broken off inside the gun. That vent hole, just like every other piece, that's where you're building your fuse. So if you can't build your fuse because that vent hole is blocked, you cannot fire the weapon. Is the weapon disabled forever?
No.
No. You can eventually draw out the nail. By the time you do that, where am I going to be?
Gone.
Gone. It is no longer my problem. So again, we're going to disable that weapon. We're going to live to fight another day, and we're going to. Now, folks, believe it or not, everything I've just been talking about is using this weapon against one thing, and that's infantry. What else could you use artillery for? Siege, right? So, say I'm shooting this artillery to these earthworks or some sort of fortifications. The problem is that 6-pound round is not going to have an easy time going through that. 6 pounds isn't going to do it for me, folks. What else could I do? I'm going to go heavier, right? I alluded to it earlier, but we're going to resort to this 24-pounder right here. 24 pounds fired out with 8 pounds of gunpowder. It's going to make short work of those fortifications over there. Now, of course, I don't necessarily have to go through it. I might eventually. What else could I do beforehand, though? Not go through it, but go over, right? That's where the mortar comes into play. Now, both the mortar and the howitzer, this piece in the middle, those weapons are firing out bombs. So we have a hollow shell that we're going to fill up with gunpowder. I'm going to cut this wooden stopper shorter if I need a shorter fuse. I'm going to load this up into the mortar. There's going to be a separate powder charge that flings this thing out of the mortar. And I'm hoping the muzzle flash from that explosion is enough to ignite this fuse. This thing's going to land at your feet right here, and is it going to blow up?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Folks, this is not a guarantee, right? That muzzle flash is not guaranteed to light this thing off. But thing is, folks, you just had a bomb land at your feet. Are y'all going to stick around long enough to figure out if that's done? So if it's not destructive, at the very least, it's going to be disruptive. And then finally, folks, before we get started with actually firing this thing, you can use these artillery pieces against other artillery. You can use these things against ships. These artillery pieces have many purposes, not just taking out giant lines of infantry. Now, folks, I think I've run my mouth just enough. Anyone here want to see this gun get fired?
Yes.
All right, we got a few takers. There's a few different things we got to go over before we get started with this thing, folks. This cannon's going to be loud up there. It's going to be loud right here. It's going to be loud over there. Now, we are going to cheat a little bit because we have OSHA breathing down our necks. We are going to be using earplugs, something they likely weren't using back then. Now, folks, you brought earplugs today, correct?
No.
No.
Right here.
Folks, please raise your hands if you didn't bring earplugs. Now, please look at your hands. Those are what your earplugs look like. So either use a finger, push down on the tragus, or even just palm over, completely covering the ear. Now, folks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shout out "Make ready" once my crew and I have loaded up this gun. Myself and Bob over there, we're going to step out from behind the gun because when that thing recoils, we're not stopping it, right? And then finally from there, we have one last command. And that command is going to be what?
Fire.
Exactly. Well, that goes unsaid, right? Fire is the last command. What I want to do is I want to shout "Make ready," and I want you to shout "Fire" for it.
Okay.
So let's practice real quick. Make ready!
Fire.
Should be loud enough. Now, folks, I'm going to whistle down to the farm to let them know we're going to get started. Once my crew and I have cleared this gun, if you want any close pictures with it, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to stay after. I'll drop the rope line after we clear the well. God, attention! Search the pace! Move! Make ready!
Fire. I didn't hear because I already just jammed my fingers in it.
The powder shed's all the way down there. I'm not making that trek right now. I'd like to do it again, but then I'd have my boss breathing down my neck about that. So. Now, folks, what you just heard was what? It's not a trick question. What was that? That was a cannon. That was one cannon. And here at the Siege of Yorktown, folks, you had enough artillery pieces that you could fire these things constantly. This piece, our cleaning process, our loading process, we send a wet sponge down to cool down the barrel. That's something you're allowed to do with these 6-pounders. The larger guns, your siege guns, something like that 24-pounder, you fire once, you had to wait 10 minutes to let that barrel cool down. Otherwise, you're running risk of that barrel warping, actually.
Yep.
You still had enough siege guns here at the Siege of Yorktown, you didn't have to worry about that cooldown period. By the time all your other weapons fired, the one that just fired was ready to go again. Folks, I thank you for sitting through that demonstration. Seems like my crew are clear. If you want any pictures with any of these pieces up here, more than welcome to walk out.